what attracted me to architecture was the uncertainty it offered. That while buildings and spaces require a certain type of specification, how you get there and the processes you have to go through keep evolving over time. Given that my background was quite diverse, born in England, grew up in Pakistan, South Africa, Iran, and over time to the US, Italy. These all give you a very different sense of convention and sort of design protocols. My background in school, in high school and beyond that, was extremely conservative. And I was not prone to studying when I was young. And design school, when I visited it, seemed like playing. And only through playing did I recognize that a different form of scholarship would emerge out of playing. That it became a vehicle to arrive at scholarship through engagement and speculation. Now, from this vantage point, I could now imagine going back into other fields with a similar framework, thinking of design thinking as a way of re-engaging other fields. But at that time, I didn't have that imagination. I have many intellectual preoccupations, but certainly one of them has been material agency, the way in which the development of materials, their behavioral qualities, their means and methods of assembly, and an engagement with the construction industry have become huge catalysts for a great many architectures that we undertake. A parallel intellectual strand is our commitment to urbanism. And when I say urbanism, I'm speaking of the way in which architecture engages the environment in general, the landscape, the city, and the emerging environment out there, whether it's the suburban landscape or otherwise, and trying to establish a position for buildings and design artifacts within that cultural landscape. The role of the architect today, maybe in any other day also, is multiple. I think part of our responsibility is to be able to demonstrate to a broader culture out there what materials, what spatial organization, and how forms perform in a very particular way. And by perform, I'm talking about both quantitative and qualitative aspects of the way in which architecture transforms the world. So I think really part of our responsibility is to not become passive recipients of a certain form of patronage, but begin to define patronage through some of the actions that we take. If you permit me, I'd like to offer a series of hybrids and tell you why I would like to study under them. In my earlier years, I saw myself the result of two different forms of thinking, one Miesian and one Corbusian. The Miesian for its systemic precision, the Corbusian for its ability to develop systems that he could constantly break. And I imagined myself being a kind of ping pong ball being played back and forth between these two professors. That is one of them. In my later years, I would put two different protagonists on the table as my experience became more textured in architecture. One of them would be Plečnik in Slovenia, and the way in which he worked the classical language to certain, not only logical extremes, to absurdist extremes, demonstrating the way in which language has a performative potential to it. That on the one hand, but then on the other hand, I simply fell in love with the thinking, the working, and the methodologies of Eladio Dieste, because in there I saw an engineer who had an architectural mind, or if you like, an architect who could quantify the performance of his work in engineering terms. And so the role of performance in the eyes of these two architects takes on a completely different vision. I suppose these latter two would be my preferred professors for today.